There's actually so much going on right now. I'm slightly overwhelmed between me nearly buying games, trying to buy games, news happening, new games coming, me playing pinball on location, and the summer's just around the corner. There's some big shows coming up. It's going to be a great summertime. This is Coast to Coast Pinball episode number 86. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast. It's a commentary. I'm a man out of quarters. What's going on? It's a Tuesday night. It's the day after Memorial Day. It is May 27th, 2014. We're edging up on the 1-year anniversary of Coast to Coast Pinball. Now, I don't know exactly what day it is, but I do know it was next month, last year sometime. So I thought we might get to 100 shows by that point, but that's not going to happen, clearly, because I've been really busy. It's road show season for Taylor, which keeps me occupied a lot. Teresa's been busy with school. She's been busy spraining her ankle horribly. There's been stuff going on. And in the side news to Nate's world and Coast to Coast Pinball, sort of relevance, we're recording an album, Teresa and I. Yeah, we have music we're playing, like, rock and roll. And I've been spending a lot of time on that, which has drug me away from this podcast, which drives me crazy because I have things to say and things to talk about, but I'm juggling right now. So I got a couple worried, concerned emails, said, hey man, you're slowing down, or have we finally gotten to the burnout phase? No, not at all. It's just busy with work. I have this music project I'm working on that's been in the plans since actually way before Coast to Coast Pinball was. So there's just a lot all converging at once. The summer is coming. We've got the Northwest Pinball show coming up. We've got the Southern Fried Game Room Expo coming up. There's a lot of good stuff coming. It's going to be a real strong summertime in the pinball world for me and hopefully for you. So, welcome back to the show. Thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. I am buried in email. We're going to answer some emails this episode for sure. I am buried mailing out shirts. I posted the new picture of our new Coast to Coast Pinball t-shirt with multiple colors, and apparently colors strike a chord with listeners, and we sold a bunch. So I'm getting those mailed out, some today, some tomorrow. Everybody's shirts will be mailed out by tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate that. So let's get into where I was last week. I was in New York. I think when last we spoke, I was in Long Island, maybe. And after that, I had a product specialist for Taylor Guitars, who I work for, out on the road with me, and he and I did a trip throughout kind of the New York City greater metro area. And last Thursday, we ended up with like about 2 hours free in the afternoon where we didn't have a meeting and we were early for our road show. And so I said, hey man, actually, let me rephrase it. I'm thinking that it was me that suggested it. When I look back, he suggested it. My friend Mark said, hey, is there any way we could play some pinball? Because last time we were in the city together, he and I had gone down to 2 Bits Retro Arcade and we played some pinball. So I said, yeah, actually, let's go to Reciprocal Skateboards. So we went and paid way too much to park our car and walked down to Reciprocal Skateboards, and we played some pinball. And Mark had a goal in mind, was to beat me at whatever. He did not care. He just wanted to beat me. So I jumped on No Fear first, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking, No Fear is a really fast game that the rule set's fairly obvious, but at least it's fast. I should have the advantage here, and I did win all the games I put on No Fear. If I wanted a fan layout game and wanted something, kind of late DMD and good flow, what's wrong with No Fear? I mean, the theme turns some people off, I'm sure, but it's a pretty good game on some levels for what you can buy it for. If you compare No Fear to what came out in that era, I think it's a pretty good value. I mean, it's a Steve Ritchie game too, right? So, like, I've seen No Fear selling for like the low 2000s easily. I don't know. I kind of think that maybe No Fear is an undervalued title. I've had other people, I've said this on the show before, and people have responded in total agreement. Now, that being said, here's my caveat on that comment as I play with my keyboard here. I probably wouldn't buy it because I can't have enough games, and that game I think would drive me nuts after a while with the voice and the theme. But I think a lot of people wouldn't bother quite so much. It more into that extreme sports realm of game. And No Fear has some really fun shots. It's a fun mode based game where there's lots of modes to go through. It has some tough shots. I think the whole speed up magnet ball jump ball shot thingy, whatever you want to call it, is actually pretty cool, pretty neat. So we played some No Fear. It was good. And Mark had his eye on Spider-Man, Stern Spider-Man at that point. And he's like, what's this one? What's this one? I said, well, that's a later model Stern game. And so we got on Spider-Man. And Spider-Man kind of kicked both of our butts. I've never been particularly good at that game. And I do believe Mark actually even beat me on one of those games because I kept trying to start modes and hit combos. And he was just sort of flailing away as newcomers to the hobby sometimes do. And it was working for him. So he took me down on Spider-Man at least once. Then we spent quite a bit of time on Creature from the Black Lagoon because I rocked on it and won a couple free games, and we matched a couple times, so we got way more credits built up into that game than I had expected. And Creature's one of those games that, from when I first kind of got back into the hobby years ago, in my head I wanted Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I wanted to love Creature from the Black Lagoon because the theme is so awesome. And then I started actually getting to play that game, and I realized that the theme is not what I thought it was. A lot of people look at Creature from the Black Lagoon and think, oh, it's a monster theme. Not really. It's really a theme about going to the drive-in with your date and buying stuff at the snack bar and maybe finding the monster. So I've never really connected with that game. And oftentimes that game's not kept up in really good shape. The creature hologram thing doesn't work. The ramps get cloudy. And the game just isn't that fun for me to play. The one at Reciprocal played really good. It was fast. It was clean. Played great. And I was playing so well on it, and I really liked it. And I started thinking, man, it'd be nice to have that game someday. And then I was looking on Craigslist in San Diego for pinball machines, which I do all the time because I'm sort of obsessed. And guess what I saw? Did you guess? If you guessed a Creature from the Black Lagoon on the San Diego Craigslist, you would be correct. Guess how much it was? No, you guessed too much. Whatever number came up in your head, you guessed wrong. Because there is a Creature from the Black Lagoon posted 2 days ago, right now, on Pinside, for an inexpensive price. It's there for $2,850. I want to buy it. I cannot buy it, but I want to buy it. It looks in really good shape. I almost wondered if it was one of those fake ads where they're just trying to get my, contact information because it looks clean. The playfield looks nice. The ramps look okay. The side cabinet that you see is in fantastic shape. But I'm buying America's Most Haunted. I'm working on an album right now of music. I've got expenses, and I can't buy that game right now. I really want to, but I can't. So I don't know. It almost seemed like fate, because I had this big connection with Creature from the Black Lagoon in New York City, and then that night I see one on Craigslist in San Diego. I don't know. Who knows? I can't do it right now. Don't have the money. Now here's where I contradict myself. I did try and buy a $3,000 Avengers machine on Amazon that I didn't even want. And I know this makes no sense to you, but you have to understand, sometimes when I'm traveling and bored or traveling and just whatever, I do stupid things. Spend money where I shouldn't spend money or whatever. And I saw this thread pop up on Pinside about the $3,120 Avengers Pro game. And I bought one. And I waited for a few days. And it actually kind of delayed the show a day or two because I didn't want to talk about it until I knew what was happening. And then if you followed that thread on Pinside at all, you would know that, alas, this was not real. These games are not real. Now, why did I buy this game? Why was I trying to buy this game when I'd probably rather have Creature from the Black Lagoon? And Creature from the Black Lagoon was less money and no shipping. I don't know. I want a new Stern really badly, too. I'm a bit manic when it comes to this hobby. It's probably why I've done 86 episodes of this show, right? So I see an Avengers well below market value. I don't like the game particularly. Now, when I say I don't like it, I mean, I don't love it. I like them all. They're all pinball. I've said that on the show, right? I mean, a bad pinball game is a good pinball game. So it's a new Stern. It would keep me occupied, right? It would be fun to have, and I could flip it for likely as much or more than I had paid for it. That was my thought, really. I thought about taking it to California Extreme this summer and maybe just selling it up there for, $3,700, $3,800. Probably sell it. It'd be home use only, brand new. But it wasn't real. What really happened there, and I think like almost a dozen people tried to buy this particular deal on Amazon, a quilt company, and I thought something like this may have been the case because the seller on Amazon was not Amazon, but it was a quilt company. Loaded in a spreadsheet of products, and in that spreadsheet, some number matched up with Stern's Avengers Pro machine, and mistakes happened, Gabe got listed, and it wasn't real. So, probably a good thing for me, right? Because now I can still wonder about that creature from the Black Lagoon that's for sale and see if it stays for sale. I don't know. I can't do it. I want to do it, but I can't do it. So anyway, back to reciprocal skateboards. We played Creature. I had a lot of fun. We also played Terminator 3, a game that every time I've tried to play has been in horrible condition and not played very well. I like the game. That's another game kind of like No Fear to me. Like if you're looking for something that's a lot of fun, moves fast, has some good stuff going on, I think Terminator 3 is not a bad game for the money. You need to get it at the right price, though. Because that's a game that does not hold a ton of value. I mean, that needs to be a $2,100 buy, I think. Somewhere in that. But if you said to me Judge Dredd or Terminator 3, having owned a Judge Dredd and now having played a really nice Terminator 3, I'd probably take Terminator 3. And I know that's going to make some Bally Williams fanboys just roll their eyes at me, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. And then we finished up on World Cup Soccer, because I just think World Cup Soccer is so freaking cool, and Mark liked it a lot too. Anytime you have a spinning soccer ball and a moving goalie, and you shoot the ball and it yells goal at you, that's a good thing. So we had a really good day at Reciprocal Skateboards. They had a few games out of order, which we saw also at Jack Bar, if you listen to the last episode. The employee, and I actually wondered, like, does this guy recognize me? Because he seemed to, like, go out of his way to let me know, hey man, like when you go back there, you're going to see some games out of order, sorry. And I get paranoid, like, oh man, does this guy know like that I'm the dude with the show that like talks about a lot of stuff? Probably not, but if he did, he was like kind of like hoping I wouldn't come on here and be like, yeah, Reciprocal Skateboards had a bunch of games out. It's okay, it's all right. He explained to me they had a big tournament and that John, who owns both Reciprocal and Jack Bar, was working on games, getting some things going back up, probably waiting on parts. That's the one thing you got to remember. Sometimes a game goes down, and it's like, oh, I just need this to fix it, and then you got to order whatever that piece is that you need to fix it. So, anyway, had a blast. Only got to spend about an hour there, but I love playing pinball with someone sort of new and just seeing their reactions to different games, seeing how they interpret it, watching them. Mark was hitting both flippers, and he looked at me and goes, wait, I'm breaking the number one rule, right? Because I had told him apparently last time, like, number one rule, don't flip both flippers at the same time unless you're trying to save a ball down the middle. So he remembered that. And Mark has some natural skill. He's a guitar player. He's a professional guitar player. He makes all his money in life by playing guitar. So he's, good hand-eye coordination, good hand skills, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, but that was Reciprocal Skateboards. A lot of fun, good times. And I think we need to go see what Teresa's doing. She's reading a book in the other room. And she has no idea. And we have nothing pinball related to talk about. But I am going to go barge in on her. Shall we?
Getting in bed with Teresa.
Hey, Teresa.
No, babe.
What are you doing?
Crunches.
Yeah, you're laying on the floor in the living room here.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of my evening workout.
You have an evening workout?
When I don't go to the gym, I do.
Why aren't you going to the gym?
Because my ankle is still healing.
Oh. So you're doing these little, like, fake half sit-ups?
Really? Oh, yeah. Doing some fake. Oh.
Muscles. I'm feeling her muscles.
Hi.
Hi. Everyone's been wanting to know where you are. Actually, they've been wanting to know where I am, too.
I was about to say, mister, it's been a week.
It has been a week. How are you doing, though?
I'm good. There's 7 more days of school.
How's your pinball game?
My pinball game?
Yeah, like your game, like your skill set. How's it going?
Crappy as ever.
Yeah?
Not that good, but I like it.
What would you say if I bought a Creature from the Black Lagoon game and brought that home?
I'd say that's awesome as long as you sell Bride of Pinbot.
Aww. There goes the bride for the creature.
Dude, you know that's what needs to happen.
Maybe. How about I sell Skylab and get Creature from Black Lagoon? That's like an even trade, right?
I think Creature from the Black Lagoon is way better, but you won't want it in here because you'll want to play it all the time. So what's going to go in here?
Oh, I don't know. I was just making reference to the fact that that's like a $400 game, and Creature from the Black Lagoon's a lot more than that.
I was just say, you talk about that like you really like it.
We talked about it tonight.
Buying the one...
No, nothing. I'm not. I'm buying America's Most Haunted. That's what I'm buying.
I know, but are you also buying Creature from the Black Lagoon?
Currently, no. I'm sitting on the floor watching you do crunches.
That sounds like a BS answer to get around it. You are a brat, are you?
No, not currently.
He looks really guilty right now.
I am not buying anything other than America's Most Haunted right now.
There's one for sale, though, here, isn't there?
Maybe.
And you want it.
That's true.
And you were talking about fixing the whatever on Bride of Pinball. So
Did I tell you I almost bought an Avengers Pro?
No.
I tried to. It wasn't real, though.
Oh, so did somebody have a fake at it?
No, there was a mistake on Amazon.
Oh, what was the mistake?
It wasn't a real game for sale. I don't know. Long story. Okay. There's no Avengers coming, though.
Okay.
All right. Well, I just wanted to come say hi.
Hi. I thought you were going to ask me. You know, I guess those were sort of pinball-y questions.
Well, I mean...
You used to have, like, an agenda. Now you just randomly interrupt what I'm doing.
You used to act like you cared about pinball.
That's really mean to say.
Are you excited that in July we're going to go to California Extreme in Northern California?
Yeah, I am, actually. I've been wanting to go one of these shows.
We're going to drive, like, 8 hours to go to a 2-day thing and drive 8 hours back.
You mean you're going to drive?
Yeah, and we're going to have to take the dog. It'll be awesome.
Poor little Pin.
Well,
I want to go. I'm excited.
Are you excited that I'm going to the Northwest Pinball Show in a few days without you?
You are?
Yeah, in Seattle.
No, I don't like it that you go to any of the shows. I want to go to all of them.
She wants to go to all of them. Well, this is not Coast to Coast Left Out with Terry. This is Coast to Coast Pinball. We got to go. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Ah, hilarity, right? That's so funny. Okay, so let's talk about some news. Let's talk about some stuff. Last episode, the news had already broken that Stern was going to be manufacturing the games for Planetary Pinball Supply in the Chicago Game Coin-Op Company, whatever they're called, of Medieval Madness Remake. So that broke, and I totally forgot to mention it because I was playing in the forums doing forum madness, and I was mad because I'd had a recording snafu. And so anyway, people wrote me and said, hey, I can't believe you didn't bring this up. I actually sort of knew it was happening. Somebody had tipped me off to it, but I didn't believe it because somebody basically wrote me and said, you'll never guess what the next game Stern's going to build is. And I said, oh, really? Everyone has their answer. Tell me what it is. Ha ha. And someone wrote me Medieval Madness. And I said, that's hilarious. Not true, but very funny. What is it? And he said, no. I'm dead serious. They're going to build them for Planetary Pinball Supply. So I didn't know. I don't know. It could be nonsense for all I know. And then it broke that that's what it was. And I was like, oh, man, I could have looked so smart if I had brought this up like a week ago. But I didn't, and that's okay. It makes a ton of sense. It makes a ton of sense. I think that my mantra that I have coined on this show, not that 5 ball is cheating. That's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about building pinball machines is hard. And I think Planetary Pinball Supply and the Chicago Coin-Op Company or whatever started looking at all of this on some level. And I don't know. I mean, I could be totally wrong. Eventually, I'm going to talk to Rick, and Rick's probably going to think I'm an idiot because I speculate on all this stuff, and I could just ask him probably. But here we go. I think as you go down the road of, okay, we're going to rebuild this game. So it'll be easy, right? We don't have to have a designer. We don't need to record audio. It's all done. We're just going to source all this stuff. And, we're going to use this new board, and we're going to have these new blah, 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 parts here, parts there. We're going to use LEDs. It'll be simple. We'll make a lot of money. Then the reality sets in. You got to build these things. And I don't care how you build it, which way you're going to do it, with big, giant green circuit boards with all the lights hardwired to them, or traditional style, or however you plan on building a pinball machine, and building a lot of them. Remember, when Rick announced Medieval Madness Remake, I'm not sure that he thought he was going to sell 1,000 games at $8,000 a piece. I'm not totally convinced that he knew that was going to happen. Maybe he did. Maybe he hoped. So they sold 1,000 games. And I don't know if they've sold more, because I think there's still limited editions available. We'll talk about that more in a second. Then you got to build them. You got to build 1,000 games. And you think, okay, well, we're going to buy all the parts, we're going to set up assembly, we're going to hire workers, we're going to build 1,000 games, profit margin here, blah, 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 blah. And you start crunching those numbers, and you start thinking about building all those games and paying all those people. And then maybe you have a snafu here or there before you even get to that. And that can scare you. You know, one bad part here, bad part there could really throw a monkey wrench in your finances. Or you have a production problem. Something's just done wrong. I think it only makes sense that if you have a company like Stern Pinball who can build dozens of pinball machines a day, or at least you start dozens of pinball machines a day, but, you know, box up dozens of machines per day, and they're capable of adding in workers, and they're open to the idea of building basically direct competition's product for you on like a, you know, a factory for hire type of situation. They want to do that because, remember, Stern wants to build stuff. Stern's in the manufacturing industry. These games are already sold. These games are coming. So it's like, if you want to be a realist, and I've worked for companies in my industry that were not realists and were offered deals very similar to this. I used to work for a company that had major manufacturing in the South, and major other companies and retailers came to them and said, hey, we want you to build a bunch of these and put our name on it. And our company was like, no, we're not doing that. We build our products. Took a very kind of, you know, solitary standpoint. We're not doing that. We only build our stuff. So if Stern's willing to build these games for you and charge you for it and take some bit of money, and that number, whatever that number is, it's going to cost you to have Stern build those games, is even close to the estimates of what you thought it was going to cost to build them yourself, you would be an absolute fool not to go do it. All right, so think about this. One of the biggest kind of nervous points for some people who have money into MMR, lowercase r, of course, was, what's the quality on these things going to be like? You know, Chicago Coin Op had built that vacation game or whatever years back, and it was not great quality. So some people have ghosts of that, you know, running through their heads. And plus, you know, building machines is tough, and who knows? I think it scared a lot of people. They're going to pay $8,000 possibly to get a game that played like a you know, late 80s Gottlieb. That freaked him out a little bit. No offense to late 80s Gottliebs, but you know what I'm saying. So you kind of eliminate all those fears right now, because go play a Stern Star Trek Limited Edition or a Metallica Limited Edition and tell me that game doesn't feel great. They feel fantastic. So you've now cleared that hurdle. Number 2, Stern does this every single day. Now, when I talked to Gary Stern off mic, I actually asked him some stuff about the business and manufacturing side of it that I was just curious about. And he kind of relayed to me that, you know, in these manufacturing areas, you know, like a Chicago, or I'm sure like the auto towns were back in the day and still are today, you don't employ all those factory workers every single day. You can hire them on in kind of as need basis type of things. Or sometimes if you have unions, you know, they have union contracts where they're working when there's stuff to be built and they're not working when they're not, but maybe they're still getting paid. I don't know how the payment side of all that goes. But in any case, it is in Stern's best interest to be building stuff. Now we are in this niche little tiny hobby of pinball where it's not like there's a ton of other things you can build in a pinball factory. You can kind of build pinball. So if you've got somebody who's already sold these 1,000 games, they're going to get built. They're not even really your competition much anymore, as they were your competition last year. You know, they took people's hearts and wallets and sidetracked them from you last year. So might as well take the money and build the games for them. Now, Planetary Pinball Supply, I think it's a major coup, because now the games are being built in Chicago, where they were going to be originally. They're built by the company who's already building, you know, thousands of games a year. You can lean on that. I think you're going to have a much easier time if something needs to be changed or fixed, or if there is a problem. Stern's now held accountable to some degree. Oh, you know, and I'm not sure how the agreement works. I think I think Chicago coin op is still tied into that somehow. But this is really good news for really everybody. It's good news for Planetary Pinball, because now they can lean on the fact that, hey man, our games are as good as any new Stern limited edition. You can say that all day long. It's true. Built on the same line. Built right next to your, AC/DC Lucy. It's great for Stern. They get to make some money off the deal, off their competition. They get to keep their factory going, keep it up and running. It's a good thing. Absolute good thing. It's good for Chicago coin op. Doesn't have to build the games now. I mean, and it's good for you, the people who've put money into this game, who are buying this classic and pretty historic remake of a classic game. It's good for you because I think you can rest a little bit easier. So that's a good thing. So those are kind of my thoughts on that. I wish I had the guts to spout off about more of the rumors I hear, because I did hear about it, and I wish I had. I'd look so smart, but whatever. That's not what it's about. So I thought that was interesting. Now, staying on the Stern pinball kind of topic, we're starting to get to that point in the year, and it happens a couple times a year, when we know there's a new game coming. And we all want to know what it is. And I remember it pretty clearly before AC/DC, Metallica, even Avengers, and Star Trek got leaked early. Then there was Mustang, kind of was like, a what? Well, we're there right now with the next game. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what it is. I think I know what it is, but I don't know what it is. I'm going to tell you what I think it is. And I'm only going to tell you this because it's purely a guess. And Stern kind of actually threw me for a loop, because I've been thinking that this is what the game was for quite a while now, until they posted about the license on their Facebook page, which made me think it's a swerve and it's not this game. So I have been thinking for a few months now, based on a couple things that I put together in my own little head, that Stern's going to make a pinball machine based on a movie coming out this summer called Guardians of the Galaxy. That's there. I'm calling my shot. I'm pointing to the left field. I'm Guardians of the Galaxy. That's been my thought of what the next game was going to be. It's a big movie franchise from Marvel. It's a comic book. They are in Hollywood trying to push this as like the next Star Wars type of franchise. It's about this group of 5 outlaws, and there's a bounty hunt going on, and there's a raccoon, there's a walking tree, there's Dave Bautista, the pro wrestler, there's all these people. And it's supposed to be sort of a sci-fi bounty hunter, space, but humor-laden franchise. A little campy, sort of like Star Wars was. And I think it'll make a really good pinball machine. And Stern has a great relation with Marvel already. I mean, obviously, we've seen a lot of Marvel pinball machines. So I thought it was almost locked that that's what this is going to be. I think that's the game John Borg's working on. I know that if you go back and read on any trade magazines for the licensing world, where they talk about, licenses being sold and pitched and stuff, almost a year ago, maybe not a year ago, maybe 8, 9, 10 months ago, there was a ton of talk about Guardians of the Galaxy and how well it was doing in the licensing world, about how all these different companies were jumping in, ready to make Guardians of the Galaxy toys, video games, cups, glasses, shirts, the whole deal, clothing. It's going to be a pretty big movie. I went and saw the new X-Men movie this weekend with Teresa, and I saw my first Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, and it just looks good. It has great feel to it. It has a really warm graphical feel to it. It looks cool. It kind of felt like Star Wars, sort of like what I wish new Star Wars movies would feel like. Well, then on May 19th, as I'd already kind of solidified this and considered coming on the show and talking about Guardians of the Galaxy as my big call for what I think they're going to make, on the 19th, about a week ago, Stern, and I don't know who does all the Stern Facebook, I don't know if it's Jody over at Stern who does all the Facebook stuff for them, not only changed their cover photo to a Marvel logo, which didn't stay that way, but changed it to a Marvel logo. They also posted and shared a link to the new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer and said, and I quote, "This would make a great game. What do you think? Do the Guardians of the Galaxy have what it takes?" And they got a bunch of comments. That threw me for a loop, because I don't know that they would have done that if it was really going to be the theme. So now I'm really confused. Now, the Marvel thing is the cover photo, and maybe they know that they've been confusing people with all these other little hints here and there, and I don't know. I think it would make a great pinball machine. I'd almost be shocked if they don't do it. It's going to be a big movie. When does Guardians of the Galaxy come out? Anybody know? Anybody out there know? I'm trying to find out myself, but my wireless keyboard is giving me issues, so I currently can't get it to work. The release date for Guardians of the Galaxy is, drumroll please, August 1st. And I was told they were going to release the new Stern pinball machine in late July. So there you go. That's my thought. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. Alright, I want to back up a little bit. So there's a Pinside thread that you've probably seen if you go on that website at all. We were talking about Medieval Madness Remake earlier. There's a thread, 78 pages long currently. It's called MMR, PPS, and Overall Update - Official PPS, October 21st, 2013. This has been the main update thread that Planetary Pinball Supply, Rick over there, has been updating on the Medieval Madness project. Something sort of interesting popped up, and it played out publicly. And I wanted to kind of, I don't know, bring it up because I think it's interesting to look at. A user on Pinside, I believe a brand new username, popped up, and his name was Yoni Zizel, who later I think we learned his name was Mike. And this is all public, this is all in here, I'm not outing anybody with anything. But Yoni Zizel, or Mike, popped up and posted, "I have a Medieval Madness limited edition spot that I want out of. All I want is my $1,000 deposit back. So if anyone here is interested, let me know." And so immediately he was bombarded, and this was about 5 days ago, by people on Pinside going, "Dude, just ask for your $1,000 back. You don't have to come here and trade your spot, sell your spot. There's an open thing. Planetary Pinball Supply originally said refunds until Williams signs off on the game, and since then they've sort of said refunds until we say no refunds," basically, is I think the gist of kind of, because I think Williams already signed off, but now it's more like refunds when we have more things finalized and we're getting closer to production. And I think Planetary Pinball Supply, who's acting as their own distributor in some areas, has also expected their distributors to offer the same refund policy. So Yoni Zizel replied, "My distributor says that once he took my deposit, it was locked in with no refunds. It might be different when you order direct from PPS, but it is what it is, I guess." This plays out with Yoni, basically, or Mike, saying that he really wants his money back, but his distributor has been hesitant to give him his money back, and the receipt says, no cancellation policy. It's on your invoice. And comes out, he finally dishes out on who the distributor is. And the distributor is someone who's fairly high profile in the pinball world, sponsors one of my favorite podcasts, seems like a really good dude, and it's Pinball Star Amusements out of Pennsylvania. So he says, it's Pinball Stars Amusements. And then he says, "Also, I know it's going to be tough for me to transfer my spot to anyone else when they find out that through my distributor, my price for the Medieval Madness Remake Limited Edition is $8,500. And if you've been following this game, you know the retail price in the game set by Planetary Pinball Supply is $8,000 even." So people questioned if this guy was even for real. And then he names who the distributor was. And then the distributor decides, okay, now I need to chime in. He says he was alerted that he needed to pop in here. So, Joe from Pinball Star Amusements, who I don't know personally, but from everything I've ever heard from him on Swiggy Pinball and ever read of him, gets great reviews, seems like he really takes care of his customers, charitable dude, yada yada, good guy. So, He pops in and basically says, this guy never asked for his money back, which, if you look at the emails posted on here, he did not ask for his money back. I think it was sort of implied he couldn't get his money back, so Mike was really taking the passive approach and saying, hey, if anybody wants my spot, if you get a call and somebody's looking to get one of these limited editions, which are, according to most, scarce, please let them know that they can have mine and I'll swap out. So, Mike also states, I have no problems coming up with the funds. It's not that. I just, other things to do. So, Pinside does what Pinside does. Everyone comes out like, got to give a refund. Don't you know that that's the spirit of what's going on? And Joe sort of acts like he doesn't realize that that's what had been going on. That, first he says, well, look, the Williams approval thing was done, so these are non-refundable. That's what Planetary wanted. But if you had been following at all, which I would assume a distributor for this game would be, you would know that that hasn't been really the case. They're going to honor refunds for a longer time. So as I'm reading through this thread, and Joe is basically saying, dude, I'll give him his money back, no problem. Because now it's in his best interest, just for publicity's sake, clearly give the guy his money back. I want to know why the game's $8,500 through Pinball Star Amusements. Now, if the answer is simply, hey man, these are limited, I bought them with my money, and I can sell them for whatever I want, then okay, fair enough. Then I would actually love to hear that there's a market, I'm getting what the market demanded, I got people to pony up for $8,500, and that's my price. And if you want a Medieval Madness Remake Limited Edition from me, they're $8,500. Cool. He never really explains why it's $500 more than what you would pay going directly to Planetary Pinball Supply. It's interesting. People sort of passively try and pull that out. Like, so what else are you getting? Is there a warranty? Is there work? Whatever. And that gets avoided. And Mike didn't do a real good job, I think, of sort of communicating in this situation and got himself into this funny spot. But I also think that Joe at Pinball Star might have missed an opportunity here, because people like me who were reading this thread, all that's going off in my head the whole time I'm reading the end of this thread is, why is it $500 more through you? Why am I paying $500 more? Please explain this to me. I'm not saying it's unfair or not cool to charge more. I just want to know why it's more. That's like sticking with me a little bit. I got out of this game because $8,000 plus tax plus shipping in California was going to be $9,100. So $8,500. I mean, that's a very expensive game at this point. I don't know if anybody else caught that. I know that somebody in Jersey did post that he kind of, I think he was thinking the same thing I was, and he actually says he'd asked, like, does the $500 upcharge provide a longer warranty than the folks paid $8,000? Is this offered by all Planetary Pinball Supply dealers? Sort of giving it out like, hey, so please explain why it's $500 more. And somebody replied, no. And I'm sure if you want to give distributors an extra $500, there aren't many that will say no. To which the original guy says, understood, the additional $500 was of no benefit to the buyer. Good to know. And it doesn't look like it was of any benefit. It doesn't look like there's any extras. It looks like when you're in sales and you have a product in great demand, you can sometimes charge more than retail. I would be very, very wary if I was a distributor in this industry, in this small little hobby, to be charging more than the set retail price. I know that people do it. I know people bought limited editions of games in the past couple years and charged a bunch for them. But when you're acting as a full-on distributor, like not just a trunk slammer, not a guy who buys games and then goes and tries and sells them through Craigslist or eBay, but if you're being like a sort of representative of a company, you're going to shows and you're doing all the hard work that a real distributor does, hopefully there's enough money in the games that you're selling to pay for all that and make it profitable. And I don't know what the profit margins on these games are. I just don't. I know what they are on a Stern game roughly, and there is money in there for the distributor, and we've talked about that at depth. I would assume there's money in the Medieval Madness for the distributor, and maybe Pinball Star does not think that it's enough, so they're going to $8,500. I wouldn't want to be known as the guy who charges the most, though. I wouldn't want to be the one above retail. Retail's usually the starting price in industries like ours where we haggle on stuff a lot. Cars, guitars, boats, things like that, where here's retail, here's the sale price, and then we're going to fight over the real price. That's kind of reality. I don't think it's a good reality. I actually wish we could just, have price fixing, but fixing's oftentimes not legal unless it's done properly. So I thought that was an interesting thread. Just want to point that out. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk to Joe at Pinball Star Amusement. Seems like a really good dude, and he would probably gladly answer my question. So I just want to throw that out there.
Check the email.
Okay, let's get into the mailbag. Thought I was all set up for this one. Totally not. All right, here we go. We're just going to go through the email because I don't even know where to start. Lots of awesome emails. Going to start replying to some of these soon, too. All right, we're going to go from most recent. We always go the other way, but tonight we're going to go most recent. Noah wrote to me. Noah wrote to me about 5 hours ago, actually. So I got a certificate for a $5,000 pinball machine for my birthday, and that is enough to buy a Stern Pro machine from Pinball Store. What Stern Pro have you enjoyed the most, and how much replay value does it have? I want to have a game people can head back to. Where's Noah from? I can't tell. .me.com. That doesn't really tell me anything. Well, let's go to Stern Pinball and go to their games list. Let's take a look. I wish I had a $5,000 game, credit. So here's what your options are going to be if you have to buy a new in-box Stern game. Because if you could just buy any Pro right now, I might bring X-Men into the conversation. However, the game's out of production. They're not making it. So you're going to have 4 choices, basically, unless you hold out and wait to see if I'm right and there's a Guardian of the Galaxy game coming out. It could be Angry Birds, though, for all I know. But let's say that you got to buy one of these 4. Currently, there's 4 Pro games in production. AC/DC, Metallica, Star Trek, and Mustang. I just realized that I could be totally wrong here, and the Pinball Store might have older games in stock. See, I could be wrong. So let's actually go back a little bit farther, just in case I'm wrong. Let's go back as far as X-Men. So if X-Men Pro, Avengers Pro, let's call those still there. Would there be another game that I'm missing? Transformers could still be new in box somewhere, but I doubt it, and that wouldn't be my choice anyway. I'm just looking at the list, if there's anything else that might be there. Tron wouldn't be there. No. Okay, so X-Men Pro's got to be in the conversation. The new rule set for X-Men's awesome. I think it's really deep. I think there is a lot of replay value there. That would not be a bad one. However, I think if I had $5,000, I would probably be looking at one of the more recent titles. I wouldn't buy AC/DC Pro. I like AC/DC. I think it has decent replay value. I think it's a fun game to try and score on. The Pro version with the big giant Angus Young, Malcolm just quit the band. He's on my mind right now. Retired from the band, whatever. The Angus Young face in the middle and some of the cheaper appointments that game probably wouldn't be AC/DC. So that leaves me between Metallica, Star Trek, and Mustang. I have played Mustang the least of the 3. I have played it quite a bit. I gotta say, Mustang's a lot better than I thought it would be in my mind. It plays fun. That's what I'll say about Mustang. It plays fun. I don't think it's the greatest layout ever. I don't think it's the smoothest game. I don't think it's the deepest game, although it has okay modes, and I think there's more to come. It's fun. I think you need to narrow it down to Star Trek or Metallica. Those games are hits. Both of those games are well received by lots of different people, not just me. And I think both of them are top notch for Stern Pinball. So here's what it looks like to me. Metallica is a game that has a few more elements of classic pinball to me. The game flow to me is a little more classic pinball. Yeah, there's multi-balls you're trying to get to. There's some modes you can start, but there's just a certain bit of like flatness to that game where it has the 2 kind of steep metal ramps in the back. But other than that, it's kind of a flat game. Awesome toy. I mean, Sparky's an awesome toy. We're talking about the Pro, so we're not talking about the rising crucifix cross thing or anything. It's a great game. Fantastic game. So if you're into Metallica, if you like hard rock music and you want that, I think Metallica is a great choice. I think you'll really enjoy it. think a lot of people age 15 to 40 are really going to gravitate towards Metallica. Star Trek is sort of the newer concept idea in pinball, where you have this group of modes you have to try and complete. You complete 3 of them, you're in captain's chair. You complete all of them, you do more. There's multi-balls. It's fast. I think it plays faster than Metallica, which is really fast. I think the Pro on Star Trek is really a great version of that game. To me, I think both those games play so well, are well received, have pretty decent rule sets on both of them. What I would say to you, Noah, is whichever one you're drawn to the most. Just whichever one you think you're going to like looking at. I sell guitars for a living, and people say, oh, I shouldn't buy a guitar because of what it looks like. And I disagree. I tell them, no. If the look of the guitar will actually make you want to pick the guitar up more and play the guitar more, then that's a totally valid, segment of the buying, wheel, or the reasons you might buy the product. So if you think you're going to look up and see that Star Trek with the cool kind of space age play field and the clear ramps and everything, and that's going to be attractive to your eyes and going to make you want to jump on and play a bunch of games, buy that one. If Metallica, if you want more of the dark theme and kind of a tongue-in-cheek, death and destruction and rock, if that's what you're looking for, then by all means get that one. Those to me are your 2 safest bets, I think, for long run, as far as enjoying the machine and having some value long term. So I hope that helps you out a little bit in your quest there. I'm jealous. Let's see, working down the email. Okay, so Jared wrote to me, and he heard me talking in episode 85 and wondering out loud how hard it was to clean the mini playfield on an AC/DC premium or limited edition. And he said, hey, Nate, turns out it's not that difficult. 4 screws, few connectors. And he posted me a link to a Pinside post from, almost 2 years ago that goes pretty in-depth into it. So I guess there's not quite as much excuse for a dirty lower playfield as I thought there might be. So maintain your machines, folks. Do it. So thank you for keeping up for me there, Jared. All right. Ryan wrote me, hey, Nate, I've been meaning to type to you. I wanted to say I love your podcast. I've been listening to it for a couple of months now, and I knew that you lived in San Diego. I live in Vista. In your last podcast, you mentioned that you work for a guitar company, and I knew it had to be Taylor. I worked for a backline company, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to avoid all that stuff that doesn't really apply here. He actually knows people that I work with. Very cool. Collecting arcade games, provided pinball back in February, got it working, factory Mylar, without pulling up any paint. That was so he pulled up the Mylar on a Bride of Pinball, something that I've kind of thought about doing without pulling up any paint. That was a lot of work, LOL. We also installed a full LED kit. It looks great. So after getting our first pin, we've been looking for places to have pinballs so we can check out all the different pins out there. We have a virtual pinball on our main box, but that's not the same. It's really not the same. Anyway, I'm typing you basically to beg you to consider letting us come by and check out America's Most Haunted sometime after you get it. I love the Spooky Pinball Podcast, and I'd love to check out that table, especially when there aren't going to be many people around. And I happen to be in possession of a lot of quarters. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do, Ryan. I'll let you come over and put as many quarters into my America's Most Haunted as you want. Yeah, we'll work something out. I actually have played with the idea when I get my America's Most Haunted of doing a release party for that game where I bring it out somewhere, because there's just not gonna be any of those games anywhere. So instead of cramming into my little condo here and bothering Teresa, maybe we'll take it out into the wild. But yeah, we can probably work something out. It's good to run into some more local San Diegoans out here. So thank you, Ryan. We will chat via email about America's Most Haunted. Now I'm wading through some stuff here. Kevin wrote me, and sorry I haven't screened these at all. I'm just reading these on the fly. So, Kevin, Nate, we're keeping things rolling up here in Buffalo. So Kevin is from the Buffalo Pinball folks, which you can see their league at buffalopinball.com. Up next is a series of pinball tournaments scheduled for June, July, and August, and would appreciate a mention on Coast to Coast. Well, since I didn't screen your email, Kevin, I can't help but do it. This is our first open tournament on location at a business, so we're hoping for a good turnout. Much thanks as always. If you're in the area, be sure and stop by for one of the tournaments. It beats playing that Iron Man at Jim's truck stop like you did last time you were in Buffalo. Actually, I've been in Buffalo once since then, and there was no pinball to be played. So here are the details. Summer Pinball Tournament Series, Buffalo Pinball. June 21st, July 26th, August 23rd. Registration on all three is 12:30 in the afternoon. Play at 1:30 for each date at the Pocketeers Billiards and Bars on Clinton Street in Buffalo, New York. $10 per tournament. I'm Googling the Pocketeer Pinballs. Excuse me, I put pinballs in there. Pocketeer Billiards and Bars website right now to try and see what pinballs they have in. Right now, it looks like they have a Wizard of Oz, an Avengers, a Star Trek, and of course, to top off that fantastic lineup, a Gilligan's Island. Which one of these doesn't belong? It's the Avengers. No, I'm just kidding. Gilligan's Island clearly doesn't quite belong, but still can be very fun. I like trying to, shoot the volcano shot myself, so... Kevin, you've got your mention. There you go. Best of luck to you. I don't think I'm going to be in Buffalo this summer. Maybe August 23rd. Nope, I have something booked on August 23rd, so I will be missing those. But someday we will play Buffalo and pinball together. That will happen. My friend Noah, who emailed me 5 hours ago, also emailed me like 6 days ago. I have yet to read this. He checked out Robot City, which is in New York. I think I did an episode way back then on Robot City Arcade. I believe that is in the Binghamton, New York area. And he said they replaced Batman Forever with Star Wars Episode 1. Boo. Yeah, he actually said no comment. Bad news for Robot City. Yeah, I agree. That's not a fair trade at all. I will take Batman Forever over Star Wars Episode 1 any day. Let's see... I need to reply to some of these. Clearly, some of these are business related with the podcast and the show. All right, Daniel, who starts his email with "G'day, Nate," which means two things: sense of humor. G'day, Nate. Get it? And also, he's from Australia. I just listened to episode 85, and it sounds like you're under the pump work-wise, so great stuff for getting something out. You might have missed it, but I was surprised you didn't mention the major announcement about MMR getting assembled at Stern. All right, well, clearly we have done that. I only recently took the plunge and put down a deposit with the Australian distributor. There were 3 left, apparently, so I've taken a whole new interest in this project. Although I don't give a toss, I love that term, although I don't give a toss about the trim or any of that crap people get their knickers in a twist about. Let's read this whole sentence just for prosperity's sake here. Although I don't give a toss about the trim or any of that crap people get their knickers in a twist about. Might be the greatest single sentence in this podcast history. I had to stop the show and edit because I started reading a sentence which was then immediately followed by, please don't read that on the podcast. Love that. This is me working on the fly. Anyway, I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts as it brings up quite a few questions. What was plan B for Rick? Set up his own factory from scratch? It could have been another project hugely delayed if that was the case with all the angst that comes with that. What if MMR turns into a massive hit, say 5,000 plus machines, and the next Stern is a dud? Will Gary suddenly feel the hot fire of competition and withdraw the agreement for Planetary Pinball's second project? Anyway, these questions are more on the negative side, but I do think it's a great rational move by both parties and very far-sighted by Gary, and it's things like this that will help pinball survive. So, Daniel, we touched on it earlier. What was Plan B? Yeah, I think Plan B was for Chicago Coin Game. Why can't I get their name right? Whatever. Yeah, they were going to build their own machines. I think that was Plan B, and I think that looked like it was going to be difficult to do, so they made a good call here. What if it takes off and becomes a big hit? Here's the thing. I don't think it has the potential of suddenly doubling or tripling sales past its big initial bump because there's not going to be that sort of weird thing where, like, so Mustang's kind of going through it right now. Mustang didn't have good buzz. It just didn't. People were not overall thoroughly excited about the game. However, a bunch of those games have shipped. People are starting to play them on location. People are getting them, reviewing them, doing videos on them, talking about them. It's getting good reviews. So there is a bump in sales for Mustang happening. Medieval Madness, people have played it. They already sort of know. There are definitely going to be people on the fence who are waiting to hear somebody else say, I got my remake, and it plays like an original. It's not flimsy feeling, whatever. There will be some sales from that. But I don't think we're going to see 5,000 remakes made. Now, long term, is Rick going to build another game? I see all those Cactus Canyon games on sale on eBay right now. I see them. Makes me wonder. Yeah, I mean, he's going to do it again, right? A lot of money here. He sold like millions of dollars in minutes. Why wouldn't you do it again, right? The project's going to go much smoother, I think, with Stern at the helm of the build side. I don't know. I think Gary wants his factory filled. And I think if Gary is building games and it's paying them enough on these games, and I have actually been a proponent of Stern only releasing 2 games a year and not releasing 3. But if they could be building these, I think they keep doing it. That's just my guess, my opinion. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up with that. Gots to go. A little longer episode tonight. I'll try not to be so long between episodes. I've got so much going on, but none of that matters to you. I get it. We've got some shirts for sale. They're on the website. We've got new stickers. They'll come with the shirts. Maybe I'll send you stickers if you want to send me a few bucks too, by all means. We're going to be in Seattle, Tacoma for Saturday, most of the day Saturday. I actually moved my flight up Saturday morning to get in around 10:30 since I saw that Mark Ritchie was speaking at the Northwest Pinball Show right about the time I was supposed to land. So I did not want to miss that. So I moved my flight up so I'll get to see Mark Ritchie. I'll be there most of the day Saturday now, and then part of Sunday morning, and then got to fly out for work. And we'll talk about that more. Hopefully we will be having someone from the show coming on here in the next few days to kind of hype the event. But I will just tell you that the reviews of the show are fantastic in Seattle. If you're anywhere in the Northwest, and you are into pinball, you'd be crazy not to come out. There's going to be a lot of fun games, a lot of good people, and I'm excited. So anyway, that is going to be Coast to Coast Pinball episode number 86. I look forward to 87. Thank you for your kind words, your emails. You can always email me at coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. That's coast, the number 2, coastpinball@gmail.com. I apologize if I don't get right back to you. Working on it. Until next time, enjoy yourselves.